Share Beirut presents Nasri Atallah.
Before I say anything, can we have a round of applause for the Share guys? Because this is fucking awesome. Everyone, please, come on. Applaud, applaud. Hello. My name is Nasri. I am a writer slash publisher slash web media type person. That's my official title, by the way. And I'm here to tell you why there's a lot of these in my life. Basically, it's about this. I've spent my life, I was born and raised in England, even though I've lost my accent along the way. I moved to Lebanon when I was 15, moved back to London when I was 20, moved back here when I was 26, and I just moved back a month ago. So that's pretty much the summation of my life. While I was here for 3 years, I kind of came here to discover my roots and all that kind of crap, with mixed results. So while I was here, I started writing a blog called Our Man in Beirut, which then turned into a book called Our Man in Beirut. But while I was here, I felt that I came here to feel more Lebanese, but I actually felt less Lebanese when I got here. And now when I go back to England, I don't feel English at all. So over time, my identity crisis has just gotten worse and worse. So one day, I'm having a drink with a friend who's here, down here. There you go, shout out, Omar. I was telling him, I'm in Beirut, and I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I don't know what's wrong. Something is still missing in my life. I can't tell if I'm Lebanese. I can't tell if I'm English. It's starting to really fuck with my life. I really need to figure this thing out. And he says, don't worry, there's nothing else. He's Syrian, Nigerian, French, whatever. He goes, we're third culture kids. I look at him, okay, a third culture kid, that sounds like an interesting thing. What's a third culture kid? So he proceeds to tell me, and I have this kind of eureka moment, which looks like this. That's what I look like in a club when someone tells me something interesting. There's some people making out. There's a guy holding his flip-flops in the back for some reason. I'm not sure why. So I went home drunk and did extensive research about third culture kids. I read journals, I did all that kind of stuff. Instead of boring you with that straight away, I want to talk about the X-Men. We're a bunch of nerds here, so we like the X-Men. Who are the X-Men? The X-Men are a bunch of people who have talents, challenges. Some of them look human, except that purple hairy guy. I don't know what his name is, but they feel out of sync with their society, even though they feel for example, they want to fight for America, but America doesn't want them to fight for it. They feel out of sync. They feel like their talents are actually challenges. They feel like they can't they can't connect with people who aren't mutants. Even Wolverine, who's a pretty cool dude. Look, he gets nasty stares at school. If Wolverine isn't cool, who can be cool? So that's basically what a third culture kid is. It's someone who doesn't fit in with their environment. And this isn't a coincidence. Stan Lee, who created X-Men, is the son of Romanian parents, born in New York. So this guy spent his whole childhood between two cultures. Am I Romanian? Am I American? Am I accepted? Am I not accepted? And that influences work, obviously. So it's not a coincidence that something like X-Men would be the product of someone who comes from a culturally confused background. Do we know any TCKs? I'm a TCK, I know a few, but there's a few famous ones. Barack Obama. He's such a TCK that people doubt that he's American. If you recall, there's this whole birther movement that wants to, prove that he's some son of an evil Kenyan voodoo priest, but it just so happened that the guy had American Kenyan parents, grew up in a scary land called Indonesia, came back to the States. The other two guys, I think they live in Middle Earth. No Lord of the Rings fans? No, okay. Argentinian lineage, American, a big mix, Argentinian, Scandinavian. That's a pretty cool mix. So basically, let's get back to TCKs. What does it basically mean in one quick sentence? In one sentence, a third culture kid is someone who can't answer this question? That's like the toughest question. And we love memes here, so this might sound like a bit of a first world problem, which is why there is actually a meme about it, you know? Someone asked me where I'm from, now I have to explain, you know? So, okay. Which might seem trivial, but it gets to you, you know? It gets to you when your whole life you're questioning, you know, belonging is a big part of being a human being, people gathered in tribes and all that kind of, I'm sure an anthropologist can explain this much better than me, but like, there's a desire for belonging, you know? So, this is kind of a Venn diagram, because those are very cool on the internet. I'm trying to be internety, because it's share and stuff. So we operate at the intersection of a bunch of cultures, which in a way is more reductive, but in the way is also we're the three cultures. So, here's a map. On this map, I got this off of a website called Denizen, which is like catered to the third culture kids. You'll see, I mean, TCKs live mainly in like large cities, which makes sense because a lot of their parents travel for work and so on. But the interesting statistic on this map for me is the 54% of them fly at least 4 times a year. That's way above average. That's kind of a shocking number for me, which is why I put those boarding cards at the beginning. And actually, if you look at like a lot of studies of third culture kids, they'll tell you the place they feel most at home is an airport departure gate. I used to tell this to people, and I thought this was normal. Like I'd say, you know, I love airports. Like, you know, the other day, I was on a business trip. They're like, "Do you mind going through Frankfurt to go back down?" I'm like, "No, I've never seen Frankfurt Airport." They're like, "Okay, yeah, and?" I'm like, "It's a new airport." It's, you know, they're like, "That's pretty weird." I mean, why? Who cares about airports? So, you know, that's so. I guess we're weird, and sometimes we forget that not everyone maybe thinks exactly the same way. This is just another slide about mobility. A lot of them tend to live in multiple countries over their life. It's pretty evenly distributed. Here's my boring slide with lots of text, which proves I've done my research. There's even a source. Wait, I'll move. There's a source at the bottom. So going back to X-Men, you know, we feel alienated, out of sync with our peers, rootless. We feel we understand other cultures better than the average person, but we don't necessarily feel that we're understood, which is a source of frustration. We believe we can get along with anyone, which, considering some of the assholes in the world, that's a big achievement, you know? And we mature in our teens and stagnate in our 20s. And that for me is a very important point, because I thought, you know, A grade student, whatever. Then I go through 4 careers in under a decade. I'm 29, I'm almost 30. And I thought this was me. I thought I was fucking up. I thought I was lost. I didn't know where I was supposed to live. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And this was really starting to weigh on me. Until I realized that there's this thing called third culture kid, and that took a load off my chest. That became my new kind of obsession. So now that I'm not in my 20s anymore, I don't get to stagnate. So what are we doing about this? This visual just looks pretty. That has no relation to what I'm doing. But actually, like I said, I'm a writer, I'm a publisher, and the real next step for me is this. Gate37. Gate37, that's the name of a new publishing project we're coming out with, which will be catered, which will look for third culture kid creatives, whether they're authors, musicians, whatever. And the first project within that project is the Flying Publisher. And I will be visiting 12 cities looking for third culture kids. Because one of the main things you hear about third culture kids is like they get along great together amongst themselves. Like much better, like I'm supposed to get along much better with a third culture kid than I am with either a Lebanese person, purebred, or a British person, purebred. And I found that to be more or less relevant to my life. But I want to see if that also applies outside of my comfort zone. Because I've only lived between these two countries. So I want to go visit 12 places I've never been, off the beaten track. I mean, for me, because I've traveled a lot, but not extensively. I've traveled between these identities back and forth, but that doesn't count. So I will be going to 12 cities, meeting people, hopefully coming out of those cities with manuscripts, projects, books that I will publish, that we will publish. And along the way, I'll also be filming a web documentary. So in every city I go to, I will be filming what's happening. Whatever happens, you know, like I'm expecting some pretty random shit to happen, I guess, in 12 different cities that I've never been to. But this is where I want you guys to come in, because of those 12, now we're in the final planning phase, and what I need, we have 6 cities already planned. There are 6 cities which are still up for grabs. So I want suggestions of where to go, who to meet, what to do. If anyone wants to come along, ahla wa sahla. Like seriously, like it's this is why I love stuff like Share, because it's completely collaborative. It's digital. Like there's no boundaries. We want to publish everything digitally. We also want to have beautiful crafted products. We want to have discussions with guys, like the guys who were up on stage earlier about piracy, and like we want to talk to everyone everywhere about everything. That's basically what this is about. So I put my Twitter handle down there. So in case you want to tweet me, ask me, how can we get involved? Please do. And if you take one thing away from this, I hope that if you are a third culture kid and you haven't heard about this before, if you've now just noticed that this is what you are, I hope you have that sense of relief that I had when I first discovered it, because that has dictated the rest of my life, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you.